Well, we did mention while we're doing the paper review that 14 days after Tinubu, Obi, Kwankwanso yet to commence campaigns. That's them. The PDP has started. 2 days ago, they kicked off with a massive rally in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital. You should have seen the stadium, I'm sure, while we're having this conversation. Perhaps pictures might pop up. For some people, they say it was a sign to show that, you know, they are set to go. But for those who are looking beneath the surface, they know that all might not be well within the party. Also, if you go through the dailies today, you might see a hint to that. So let me ask our guest here this morning, Mr. Kola Ologbondiyan, who is the PDP presidential, or one of the PDP presidential campaign spokesperson and a former national publicity secretary of the party. If all that glitters is gold, that was quite a showing you had in Uyo, the Akwa Ibom state capital, for, I'm sure it was for good measure, maybe to send a message home. But, you know, did that confidence really resonate within members of the PDP that indeed all maybe can go on without the inclusion of these 5 governors who are still, you know, sending a protest letter to your party?
Thank you very much, Maupe. Let me start by saying that going to the South-South for the People's Democratic Party was predicated on the fact that the South-South remains the bedrock of the People's Democratic Party. I think that's the first messaging I want to give out. Now, going into the issue of the discomforting disagreement within the People's Democratic Party, I can assure that efforts are still ongoing. There are rooms, many rooms in our party. And our party is a party of inclusivity. And we have always had that demonstrated. However, there are issues. But these issues are being resolved. And like I love to say always, I believe that at the end of it all, we will go into the election as one united, indivisible political party.
Did that affect the mood in any way of the start of the campaigns on Monday?
Well, to be honest with you, like you read in the dailies, yes, there are concerns about having everybody on board. There are concerns, and the concerns exist in the party. However, as a party that is most organized in the country, as a party with the highest experience about politicking in our nation, we cannot stay akimbo. We must begin the process. But we are confident in the belief that those who are not in the train now will join the train.
Well, 2 times now, your party has suffered defeat at the national level. In 2015, when it was ousted, and also in 2019. And there are questions as to what precisely you're hoping will be different this time around, considering that we're not just talking about 2 major political parties. There is now a credible third force. And this force, for a number of people, would have been a veritable looking for the right word now, let's say a veritable addition and veritable force, assuming it were within the ranks of the PDP. But now that that has now been, like, would I say, taken away from you, or is now assumed a life of its own, how is the PDP managing what could be, potentially be a threat to what is now been known as the establishment parties?
Well, Maupe, let me tell you something about political parties in Nigeria, particularly in this Fourth Republic since 1999. If you leave your party and go to another party, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can in totality affect strongly the fortunes of that previous party in which you belong to. I take the PDP, for example. Most of the people, and I love the word establishment party, most of the people in the PDP are traditional PDP members. And they function in a manner that you will later come to understand that no matter what happens, they will stay and stick with their political party. So looking at that and coming from that background, I believe, and you can see this as manifest, even in the zone that the candidate you are talking about hails from, you discover that the traditional politicians have not left their party. notwithstanding the disagreement. And as such, where new parties will always come up, they have always come up in the past. But I have an understanding, and it's a global understanding, that in every country that you go to, there are always two major political parties, which give the people an opportunity of choice at every election. And these major parties are the one seasonally, maybe every 4 years, maybe every 5 years, come to talk to the people and say, this is what we have to offer. And the people will decide whether the previous party that was in government was better for them or the alternate party is better. I personally do not believe in this mutation of political parties, that at the end of every election, we're going to spring a new party. That's what has brought us to where we are today in Nigeria. But all well and good, I am confident that the victory of the PDP is certain in the 2023 election.
Do you think that your party missed a golden chance with the way it managed the exit of former Governor Peter Obi?
I do not think that the People's Democratic Party, and I say this as an insider, had the opportunity to even manage the exit. Because what happened, what Governor Peter Obi did, gentleman, yes, was a walk-up. He just took a walk, from the party. So the room for management never existed. And you recall that what transpired was not at the national level of the party, if I can say that, because it was a domestic problem in Anambra State. But I think he felt aggrieved, going by what happened in his state, and left the party. So there was no room, per se, for management of events.
It took a while before he decided on what party to settle on. But even before he moved on to, well, maybe this is crying over spilt milk now, but I mean, I'm just looking at whether when the PDP looks at what is now happening with the candidate of the Labour Party, they ever wonder, how did we miss this? How did we miss the opportunity to be able to galvanize the amount of people whom he has been able to galvanize, or who have now, you know, say, look, on your mind, I'm looking for another word now. Yeah, lest I be accused of plagiarism, who are telling him that he is the face of the discontent which they feel with the political system, and who might have been, you know, given the votes to the PDP as a result of just how they felt about how things had been run.
Well, if people feel that, Governor Peter Obi is the face of the discontent that they have with the other parties, it will be funny to me.
Not just discontent, but also a faith in the capacity which they think he brings on board.
Because Governor Peter Obi is a part and parcel of the establishment party. He only took a walk over disagreement in his home state, Anambra. So for anybody to come and say, oh, this is a new face, I don't understand it. I truly don't. Because he's a part of the process. He's been governor for 8 years. He's been a political party. He has left a political party for another before he left for this. So for me, I do not talk in the... I do not speak about him in ill manners. And I don't want to be dragged into that. But I'm sure and I'm confident that the 2023 election signposts a victory for the People's Democratic Party candidate, Atiku Abubakar, Waziri Adamawa.
Well, people always have their calculations. For everybody that you speak with, they will certainly have a reference to point to in history, or maybe even in Nigerian history, or even international history, to show why it is their own candidate that will win. I'm not going to start disputing calculations here. What I'm going to talk about is your plan, is the agenda of your party, because it certainly must be selling something to Nigerians. The issue of insecurity has been with us even before your party was ousted in 2015. It contributed largely to it. The issue of economic management is also on board. What's your party hoping to do differently, were it to win the 2023 presidential elections?
Thank you very much, Maupe. Let's take off from the issue of insecurity that you spoke to. And we must accept for a fact that before the People's Democratic Party left office in 2015, that insurgency, which was prevalent in the Northeast, unlike what happened everywhere in the country today, had been fought to the fringes. and also the fringes of the Northeast. And we must also not forget that when this government came in 2015, it declared those who were fighting the war as mercenaries and stopped the arrangement with the previous government.
Did you declare them mercenaries, or we actually hired mercenaries?
Okay, and declared them as well, he declared them mercenaries and declared them that they are not going to work with them and send them out.
No, Mr. Olabodinyo, you cannot declare somebody mercenary. It is either the person is a mercenary or the person is not a mercenary. Did we or did we not hire mercenaries?
But at the end, Maupe,
you're not answering that question.
I will answer. I'm going there. But at the end, what did happen? Insecurity had spread across the federation in various forms, banditry, and all forms of kidnapping came in and had a spread so bad that even to travel from one point to another became a problem. Now, having identified that in the area of insecurity...
No, Mr. Olabodinyo, before you go ahead to identify the issues, I just asked a question. Did we or did we not hire? Because don't forget that...
No, we had to hire fighting equipment. And in hiring fighting equipment, our officers were not trained on the equipment that were being used. And as a result of that, you have to bring people who can use those equipment. What happened thereafter? We had a situation in which, because it appears that the machinery that we're using was at par with what the vandals, the Boko Haram, the whatever had, and they were using against us. They were stolen from the armory of Nigerian army. So we're working at the same, we're fighting the asymmetry war at the same level until the government then had to bring in equipment that can fight. And don't forget that it was these same APC people, when Nigeria went out to go and purchase military hardware, that went around the world and said that we're going to use it to kill opposition. And as a result of that, this was stopped. So, but you must agree with me, Maupe, that before 2015, that the insurgency had been fought to the fringes, unlike what we have later. But having said that, Atiku Abubakar, Waziri Adamawa, the candidate of the People's Democratic Party, is driving on reuniting Nigerians. And being a former customs officer, whose responsibility had been to defend the territorial integrity of our nation, he's also saying that when he's elected and sworn in on May 29, 2023, that he will introduce the use of technology to secure our borders and ensure that vandals, bandits don't have the kind of free access that they have in Nigeria today. You also spoke to the issue of economic downturn. You will recall that Atiku Abubakar, as vice president and chairman of the Nigeria Economic Council, fought along with his principal, Olusegun Obasanjo, for debt relief for this country. And when they were leaving office, they had about 65 billion in US dollars in our reserve in 2007. And as such, the glorious days of this nation operated when Atiku Abubakar was the chairman of Nigeria's Economic Council. And they went head hunting for Nigerians across the globe and made Nigeria an attraction to our citizens, wherever they were on the planet Earth. So this is the plan that Atiku is bringing back. This is the plan that Atiku wants to reinvent. And in whichever way you look at it, is in the area of education, he's talking about remodeling our educational system in a manner that we could look at the various stratum of our educational system and see what correction needs to be taken. He has already proposed private-public partnership, even in the area of the economy. He has also said that he's going to introduce a 10 billion stimulus for the non-formal sector of the economy. $10 billion stimulus for the non-formal sector of the economy. The vulcanizers, the tomato sellers, the ordinary Nigerians, because that is the drive of our economy. So these are the plans that Atiku brings to the fore.
Well, let me take this to Lagos now. I understand that Kayode has further questions.
Well, indeed, Mark, well, thank you very much. And good morning, Mr. Ologbodinyo. About Nigeria's foreign reserves you talked about in 2007. Did you say $60 billion?
Or about 65 billion naira. I can't be accurate.
Okay, because the former Minister of Finance cleared the air on that in a statement saying it was actually $43 billion and not 60 or over 60 that was quoted in times past.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, really, some of the wins that you recorded for your party. And just to be clear, is this the same period which your party has actually apologized for the mistakes it had made and other issues, coming out openly to tell Nigerians, we're sorry for the mistakes we have made? So is that the same period you're asking Nigerians to look back to and vote for your party in the coming elections?
Thank you very much, Kaudi. You recall that it was a leadership office, which is secondus, in which I served, that made apology. And what did we apologize to Nigerians for? We apologized to Nigerians for allowing APC to have the opportunity to come and ruin the achievements that we have had in this country. That was what we apologized for. There is no denying the fact that ahead of 2015 election, the insurgency had been fought to the fringes of the Northeast. It's a statement of fact. There's no denying the fact that life was far better than what we are witnessing in the last 7 years of the administration of the All Progressives Congress. Whether in the area of economy, whether in the area of safety, in whatever angle of our national life that you look at, life wasn't as difficult as this for the ordinary people. And as such, we believe, and Nigerians out there, Kaudi, who live around you, are saying that if it is possible for the APC to return them to pre-May 29, 2015, that it is welcome. That is how terrible, that's how awful, that's how bad the situation of our nation has been in the last 7 years.
Well, in the words of Mr. Secondus that time, because you say that maybe he apologized for allowing the APC come to power, but these were his words. He said that we apologize to Nigerians that we have made mistakes, we have learned our lessons, and we are ready to begin on a new agenda. He says experience is the best teacher. He also said that it is important to do so because we have learned from our mistakes. And time and again saying that, you know, we actually clearly made mistakes as leaders of this country. So when you say that Nigerians want to go back to pre-2015, are you saying that Nigerians will actually want to go back to those mistakes which your chairman at that time openly came out to apologize for?
Yeah, thank you, Kaudi. The mistakes that we made allowed Nigerians to elect the APC, which has brought our nation to a ruination. And as such, having come out to apologize and having learned our lessons, in spite and with due respect to the decision of the Supreme Court, the 2019 election was in the favor of the People's Democratic Party. And the ordinary Nigerian out there, around you, they will tell you that that was it. But having said that, life in 2015 was far better in every ramification. Prior to 2015, did we have, under the PDP, a whole session being lost for students? Did we have a situation in which people could not travel from one point to the other, from Abuja to Lokoja or from Abuja to Kaduna? Did we have a situation in which living conditions became unbearable for the ordinary Nigerians? Did we have a situation in which purchasing power became so low that people are asking for just anything? We never had that.
Well, Mr. Ologbodinyo,
we never had that.
I mean, with the benefit of hindsight, and the figures are out there. Yes, ASU went on strike during your time. I recall that was what brought up the whole agreements, the needs assessments, you know, former President Yaradua then transitioned to former President Goodluck Jonathan. It was actually as a result of strikes upon strikes that they had to find a way to appease the lecturers. And I mean, I can go on and on. The Boko Haram, the scourge of Boko Haram to at that time, I mean, local governments and areas were being dominated by the terrorists. But you know, so we don't keep going back and forth. Ultimately, you have a few days to campaign. But I want to ask this question because, I mean, Mr. Peter Obi's name came up in recent times. And, you know, he had a conversation recently where he, you know, responded to the talk about him not having structures. And he said, the truth is, you know, having governors or members of the National Assembly, which are called structure in any case, is just a way to, you know, funnel monies into campaigning. And I'd like you to clear the air on that, because now the thinking is that, well, that's essentially how you raise money for campaigns, for elections. You use the powers of the governors, monies which are not budgeted for, by the way, powers of members of the National Assembly to siphon monies for your campaigns. Is that what is happening right now?
Howdy, you know as a fact that we do not control the National Assembly, and you know as a fact that we cannot use the National Assembly because it's not within our purview to raise money to run our campaign. Campaigns are run through support of members of the party and willing Nigerians who believe in the sustainability, who believe in the capacity of our party to conduct the affairs of governance in the best of ways. And as such, Nigerians will willfully support our campaign as People's Democratic Party. I do not know what obtains in other parties, but there are stories in public space about how the APC intends to use the part of 20.8 trillion that it has budgeted for 2023 as campaign, as slush fund for campaign. I do not know how far that is true, but that is in public space. But for us in the People's Democratic Party, we are relying on our members. We are relying on support from good-willing Nigerians to support our candidate ahead of the election.
Let me quickly ask you this about petrol subsidy. Part of what is currently crippling our revenue, even though it is dwindling, is this niggling issue of petrol subsidy. What does your party hope to do differently this time around? Is it something you've thought about?
Yeah, it's something, first subsidy you recall, under the President Goodluck Jonathan administration, because people say that we should don't talk about the past, like how they just say. Yes, in areas where we achieve or where we had the intention, we had the will to achieve, and the APC came and told all sorts and all forms of lies to Nigerians, we must speak to them. You recall that under the President Goodluck Jonathan administration, Goodluck Jonathan was set to remove subsidy on oil. It was the same APC people who ganged up and said, no, you want to impoverish Nigerians. And you will recall that even President General Muhammadu Buhari, as he was then known, declared that whoever speaks to first subsidy is a scam.
So,
and this change...
I'm not going to dispute anything.
Okay, thank you. So now let me proceed further.
So
our candidate,
Atiku
Abubakar, has already said he will introduce a phased removal of subsidy. He has stated that clearly, that he would work on because if you holistically remove subsidy, the suffering of Nigerians will be worse than what we are experiencing now. So in line with the thinking of majority of Nigerians, what Atiku Abubakar intends to do is to face withdrawal of subsidy. And I also need to add that Atiku Abubakar has said he's going to block all the leakages in government. Do
you think that is certainly significantly different from how President Goodluck Jonathan went about it?
But I think it's significantly different because what Governor Goodluck Jonathan would have done was to remove subsidy.
And that would have had implications.
And that would have had implications. But he is saying, Atiku Abubakar is saying that he will do a phased withdrawal. Let's put it in a straight...
Do you think we have the time for that? For that phased withdrawal?
Oh, I believe we will have the time because, number one, Atiku is expecting to... He said he will reduce recurrent to 45%, recurrent expenditure in the national budget to 45%. And that is going to block all leakages where government funds have been siphoned. And I think that will generate more funding. And I think, I believe that Atiku Abubakar has the body language, he has the culture of attracting Nigerians back home to come and invest in their country. So I think that with all this, that we'll have funding.
Well, I certainly know that we'll continue to keep in touch with you as the campaigns continue and proceed. And as much as possible, we hope to keep it issues-based right here at Channels Television. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise this morning.
Thank you very much. And I wish to speak to our opponents and tell them to concentrate on issues because Atiku Abubakar has made his campaign issue-based. Mr.
Kola Olagbondiyan is the spokesperson, is one of the spokesperson at Atiku Ukuwa Presidential Campaign Council and former National Publicity Secretary of the People's Democratic Party. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise this morning.